Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with an incredibly exciting tutorial. Yes, we are painting Krondys, the son of Dracothion. It is a Stormcast dragon. It's very exciting. They're finally here. I'm very excited to paint it, and well, I'm just going to jump right in and start doing it. So, he has been primed in Wraithbone, and the place we're going to work on first is on all of the bony, kind of beigey, bright kind of underbelly and the inside of the wing and the underside of the tail and all that kind of area. And the colour we're going to make is a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 1 part skeleton horde. And what we're going to start doing now is we're just going to start painting this all over these areas that we want to be this colour. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% clean and tidy here, because ultimately what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a lot of blending. But essentially on the tummy here, we're just going to kind of come up to around about there in that fold in the skin. And then we just want to get this all over across the middle like this. And then up on the other side, you're going to kind of make it as even as you possibly can. So it kind of gets up to around about there. And then similarly, we do the inner part of the arm as well. Like so. Now, of course, what I would recommend is that you have your box art to hand, because you are going to need it to figure out where to place this. But as I said, it doesn't matter too much if it's a little bit messy, because it will only contribute towards that kind of blended effect that we're going to end up with at the end. But just make sure that you just keep moving around the model and keep that paint flowing so you don't have any really dark, horrible spots, which can happen with the contrast paint. And also just so that you don't miss places. Just do as I'm doing. Model gymnastics. So with that skeleton horde and contrast medium mix applied all over these areas, like so, what we're now going to do is we're going to colour in the rest of Krondys with a very, very thin Terradon Turquoise. And this is like 8 or 9 parts contrast medium to 1 part Terradon Turquoise. And basically what we're going to do with this is we're going to paint this now all over the rest of him. For example, just there. Like this. And then whenever you get close to some skeleton horde areas, like for example just there, just overlap it slightly, like that. Then wash your brush, and then just where the 2 colours meet, lift off the excess. Now this is going to take a little bit of time, and it's going to be a little bit annoying, but it's going to give it that impression of being kind of blended into the skin, which is exactly what we want. So just take your time. And once again, just make sure you've got your box art on hand. and just take it a section at a time. So for example, I've gone up to that muscle group there. Just like this. So with that done, you should now have a Krondys that looks somewhat like this. Now don't worry if it's a little bit patchy in places, that's okay, because what we're going to do now is we're going to start darkening him down. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 4 parts contrast medium to 1 part Terradon Turquoise. And again, this is where we really want to check out our box art, because we want to now start adding the kind of the darker patches to the scales. So for example, we're just going to start right up here on the head. What we're going to do, we're going to add this over the top of the hair, just there on the chin. Then I'm going to add this all over. The areas that we now want to be slightly darker. So again, just make sure you've got your box art handy for this. So with that done, you should now have a couple of different tones of Terradon Turquoise going on, and well, it's looking pretty awesome. But what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the darkening it down, and well, the colour we're going to make is a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 2 parts Terradon Turquoise to 1 part Ultramarines Blue. Now this is going to be quite dark, but what we're going to do is it's going to basically the same principle again, but much less of it. So for example, here on the face, what we're going to do is we're going to paint this over the top of the hair, of the horns, just like this. And as you can see, what we're slowly doing now is we're slowly now kind of we're blending right down, basically. We're shading down to the point of where we want to get to. So with that done, you should now have some very distinctive different colours going on Krondys. You should be looking pretty rad. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do another darkening of it down, unfortunately. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 2 parts Terradon Turquoise to 1 part Leviadon Blue. And this is going to be for our really dark patches. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick out all of the areas that we want to be really dark. So areas such as the hair, the horns, and the entirety of his back. As well as these large armour plates down here on his legs. We also want to add a little bit of it down here in the foot. But once again, do just check out the box art to see where those darkest patches are. And so with that done, our flesh is very, very, very nearly there. We've just got one last coat of darkening it down to do. Now this is going to be a 1-to-1 mix of Leviadon Blue and contrast medium. And this is just going to be on the absolute darkest areas. So this is going to be areas such as the horns and those leg plates and the kind of flesh on his back, but not the wings, because we want those to have a slightly brighter colour. So we're just going to get this. We also want to do this over the hair as well. just like this. So with that now done, before we do any highlighting on that, we've just got one area to finish off, and that is going to be the inside of the wings. As you can see, I've already done this one, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Aggaros Dunes. I'm going to basically use this in quite a targeted manner. So what we want to do is, around this kind of top part of the wing, we want to shade the whole area, like so, and then we want to, along each of the spines, draw this Aggaros Dunes down, like so. And then what we also want to do is around these kind of scaly areas, colour this in. We want to make sure we get the whole of the recess. And don't worry if it looks a little messy, because what we're now going to do, we're going to wash the brush, and then we're just going to very carefully lift off and blend out the excess with a clean brush. Like so. And you just want to repeat this process along each of the wings. So with that now done, you should have a wing that looks somewhat like this. You should have a Krondys body that looks somewhat like this. And it looks awesome. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start brightening him right back up. Now the first colour we're going to be using to do this is Wraithbone. And what we want to do is basically we're going to concentrate on his tummy and the underside of his tail for this for the moment, and of course his head as well. And what we're going to be doing with the Wraithbone is essentially we're going to be relayering. Now this is going to take some time, but it's absolutely worth it. Now we're going to do this over the top of the areas that we did with the Skeleton Horde initially, like so. But what we're going to do is we're going to avoid all of the recesses. And what we're going to do is we're going to start bringing it over onto the top of where we've done our shades. So what we want to do, for example, just down here, is we want to start painting this Wraithbone over the top and bringing it round to around about this section just here. So that our thinned down Terradon Turquoise that we did initially, it's basically providing a little recess shade on this section. Now you can take out as far as you like. I might go as far as here. Like this. But essentially, you just want to go around with the Wraithbone like this. Now, as I say, this is going to take some time, but do just stick with it because it's absolutely worth it in the end. We're just going to avoid the twin-tailed comet in the middle of his chest as well, so we get a very clear distinction of it. So with that done, you should now have a Krondys that looks somewhat like this, having gone up over the head and around each of the shoulders. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to, before we finish all of that, because the final dry brush over the top of it is the same, what we're going to do is we're going to work on highlighting these kind of darker parts on the inside of Krondys. Don't worry about the outside just yet. So the colour that we're going to be using for this is Sybarite Green. And what we want to do is we just want to very gently dry brush this over our darker scales. Just like this. And so with that Sybarite Green applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to dry brush some Gauss Blaster Green over the top. We're going to be much more gentle with this one. And so with that Gauss Blaster Green dry brush applied, what we're now going to do is again hit pause on just the inside of him. I'm going to move to the outside, to the back of the wings. And well, the colour we're going to dry brush this with is Temple Guard Blue. And we just want to be very gentle here. And we want to dry brush this all over. just like this. And so with that Temple Guard Blue applied, what we're then going to do is going to once again use some Gauss Blaster Green, and this time we're going to be very, very, very gentle. Just picking out the sharpest parts on the back. So you want to kind of come down here across the arch of the tail. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to apply our final dry brush, and this is going to be across all of the model. So all of the dark parts on the black, the front and the bone and the tummy and all of it. And this colour is going to be Pallid Witch Flesh. Now, what we want to do is we want to go a little bit harder on the areas such as the wings, like this. But then when you get to doing areas such as the scales, you just want to go very gently over the top of the sharpest parts. So with that now done, the flesh and the scales and the wings of Krondys are now finished. He looks spectacular. So what we're going to do now is we are now finally going to move on to some different details, and these are going to be all of the claws on the wings, on the feet, and his little tooth sticking out here and here. Now the colour we're going to be using for this first is Cygor Brown. And what we want to do is you just want to get some on our brush and just very liberally spread it over, because we want these to be quite dark. But of course, don't forget to do both sides of each claw. And so with that done, what we then do is take a small amount of Volupus Pink. I'm going to paint this around the eye and over the eye as well. So basically what we want to do is just want to get that kind of the eyelid. Like that much. On both sides, of course. And so with that done, what we then do is take a teeny tiny amount of Fulgrim Pink and we use this to highlight the eye. Well, the area surrounding the eye. Like that. So with that done, you should now have a quite dark eye right in the middle, but if you don't worry, just have a little bit of, add a little bit of black Templar over the top of it first. But because I've got quite a large, nice dark eye, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Flash Gitz Yellow. I'm going to paint this over the top of the eyeball. Like so. And so now what we do is we take that black Templar and we just take a very small amount of it. I'm going to draw a little dragon pupil towards the front. There's a little line going across. Like that. Just towards the front because he's looking this way. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to highlight all of the claws and the teeth. And, well, the colour we're going to be using is Stormvermin Fur. Now, we're not going to be doing these ones down here on his big feet because, well, they're already done. As you can see, that Cygor Brown has come out very nicely. But what we are going to do on the rest of them is we are, as I say, going to take this Stormvermin Fur. I'm going to add this as a little highlight. Going along the sharp edge. Just like this. And so with that Stormvermin Fur now applied, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a tiny amount of Administratum Grey and we're just going to add this as a little spot highlight towards the ends of these claws to make them look nice and sharp. Like so. Of course, don't forget to do the teeth either. So with that done, it is now time to work on Krondys' armour. So, the first colour we're going to be using for this is Retributor Armour, and we're just going to be getting this all over the gold parts. So with that Retributor Armour applied, what we're now going to do is going to make a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Fyreslayer Flesh and Contrast Medium. And we're going to use this to shade all of our gold. And so just whilst we wait for that to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Apothecary White. We're going to paint this over our white details, which include the face here, which, as I've learnt recently, is not Sigmar, it is in fact Grungni. It is his mark, which helps the souls of the Stormcast return to Azir after the events of Broken Realms Be'lakor. Sorry, we're also going to apply this over the top of these lightning bolts down here on the armor plates themselves. Just like this. So with that done, it is now time to return these armor plates back to their shiny glory. And the colour that we're going to use for this is Retributor Armour. And what we're going to do is we're just going to paint this Retributor Armour over the top of the flats of the panels, just avoiding the recesses where that Fyreslayer Flesh has really settled. Just like this. So with that done, you should now have some beautifully shiny gold armor. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take it to the next level by highlighting it. And the color we're going to make is a roughly 2-part Stormhost Silver to 1-part Retributor Armour mix. And we're going to use this as our edge highlight. So what we want to do is we just want to start picking out all of the sharp edges, all of the rivets, and all of the little bits of writing. Around the armour. Just like this. So with that done, as a final flourish for all our gold, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Stormhost Silver. We're just going to apply this to the sharpest corners. So for example, just there on the collar and towards the end of these spikes here. Just like that, just to make it nice and shiny. I'm just going to do this all over. So I'm just going to grab those top corners and of course on the horns as well. So with that done, all of our gold metallic armour is now finished, and it looks spot on. I really love this. So what we're going to do now is the final detail for Krondys, which is the white. Now the colour we're going to be using for this is Corax White. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to be highlighting it. And quite a wide highlight. Just like this. And so with that Corax White applied, what we then do is we take some white scar and we use this to highlight the most prominent parts and the sharpest features. So for example, that nose there, the moustache, the rivets, and the corners of the lightning bolts. Well, the twin-tailed comets. And so with that done, our white is finished, but we do have these two runes here and here that we want to just add a little bit of a glow to. So what we're going to do is we're going to, still using our fine detail brush from Artis Opus, is we're going to take some Aethermatic Blue. I'm going to paint this inside the rune. Just like that. So with that Aethermatic Blue applied, it's a very subtle little effect, but it's exactly what we want. We don't want it to be too bright to take away from the rest of the model. So what we're going to do now is we are going to move on to that base, and it's actually very, very simple. So the colour we're going to start with is Basilicanum Grey. We're going to be using this across all of the rocks. Now what we want to do here is you just want to take it very steady and just go a section at a time. Just like this. Just be nice, calm and methodical to make sure we get a nice smooth finish, particularly on these large open spaces. Using these big broad brush strokes. And so with that Basilicanum Grey all applied to all of our stone, as you can see, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Wyldwood. I'm going to apply this to all the soil. And so with that Wyldwood applied, we then take some Aggaros Dunes and we use this on the flattened grasses. Just here like this. So with that now done, it's time to fill in all of this negative space around the rest of the base. Now, of course, you can use whatever texture paint you like, or indeed any sand or any other method that you use for basing your army, but I'm going to be using some Stirland Battlemire to do mine. Just getting a good wallop of it out of the pot. There we go. I'm just going to start applying this all over. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to dry brush all of it using some Tyrant Skull. As you can see, I also added some little pebbles in there. Some of them have come loose. That's okay. We just want to get this Tyrant Skull all over. Including the stone and the soil. And so with that done, I've added some tufts to the base. So all that's left to do is to paint the rim. I'm going to be using some Abaddon Black, but of course you can do the colour of your base rim any colour that you like. Well, the dragons are finally here. Oh my goodness me. They were so cool in the pictures and they're even better in person, and I am so happy with how they've turned out. These are my favourite models I have painted all year. Hands down. I love dragons. Yeah, there's no words. I'm so happy, and I hope you're happy with yours. Just, oh my goodness me, dragons. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.